7-1. Basically in this chapter we're transitioning to talking more about graphs and functions and graphing lines and things like that. So basically in order to talk about functions we need to know what a function is. So a function is a special relation where each member of the domain is paired with one member of the range. So basically first thing you need to realize, domain and range, we're talking about the x and y values. So basically we're saying that one domain goes with one range. The domain shouldn't be shared with more than one number of the range. So an example would be like if you had -2, 1, -4, 3, -5, 4, -9, 7, and if you make them in a chart like this, you'll see that the domain don't repeat. It's just 1 goes with 1, 1 goes with 1, 1 goes with 1, 1 goes with 1. Now a non-example, so this is not an example of a function, would be if you have -2, 1, -2, 2, -5, 4, and -9, 7. So one thing you can notice right off the bat is that your -2 repeats. So since it repeats, we have this one domain go into more than one range. So that means it is not a function. So if you're looking through and you see all of these ordered pairs, all your x values should be not repeating. And then in this case, we have -2 repeating twice, so that means it's not a function. So basically, you're going to be looking at a list of ordered pairs, you're going to be looking at charts, and you're going to be looking at graphs. And you're going to have to say whether it's a function or not and why. Now, when you're looking at a graph, you can use what's called the vertical line test to make sure that it's a function. So if you hold like a pencil straight up vertically and run it over the graph or just across, then the pencil should not touch more than one point. So basically, if you have your pencil holding up and you go across the whole graph and there's the point hitting the pencil in two places, then that means that it's not a function. So we're going to be looking at a few examples of that in a second. So let's go ahead and try them. Example number 1. Now on the directions, your directions will say, is this a function or not? Explain. So first of all, we're going to go ahead and check to see if it's a function. So I have all these ordered pairs listed, and if a function, the domain cannot go with more than one range, that means that all of our x values should be unique. There should be no repeating x values. So first what I'm going to do is identify all of my x values in my list. So x value is the first number in an ordered pair, so we have the 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so I notice that none of my x values repeat, so I'm going to say, yes, it is a function because no x value repeats. So that would be a complete answer, like something that I would like to see on your paper. So not just yes, that would be only partially correct, because you need to be able to tell me why. Because you could guess yes or no all day, but if you're not figuring out why, then you're not committing it to memory. So basically, number 2, it says we have a list of ordered pairs as well. So what I'm going to do is identify all my x values and see if any of them repeat. So I have 13, I have -4, I have 6, and I have 13. So I see that these two 13s are repeating. So I'm going to say no, it is not a function because 13 is repeated. So that means that if you were to graph it, you would have 2 points on the same vertical line, which would mean that it's not a function. So now this time, these next 2 examples, they're showing the ordered pairs in a chart form. So that means that all of our x's are on the top, all of our y's on the bottom, domain, range. So basically, all we have to do is look at the top row to see if it's a function or not. So we have 5, 3, 2, 0, -4, and -6. And none of those numbers repeat, so it is yes, it's a function because no x value repeats. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at this example. We have -1, -6, -3, -1, -5, -2. So I heard when I was reading them to myself that the -1 is repeating. So I'm going to say no, this is not a function, because -1 is repeated. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and look at these 2 examples, and we are going to use the vertical line test. So I'm going to show you how to do it with this oversized little pointer so you'll know how to do it with your pencil. Now, you don't have to do it with the pencil. You can look at it straight quickly and be able to tell if it's a function or not. But just to be careful, because some aren't going to be as obvious as these two. Some are going to be a little bit more tricky because there'll only be one number that is repeating itself. But in some of these examples, more than one is repeating themselves. So what I mean by the vertical line test, you're going to take your pencil and hold it up vertically. So up and down. You're going to take it from the left of the graph and run it to the right side of the graph. And I can stop right here and tell you that it's not a function because my pencil or my pointer is hitting 1, 2, 3 parts at the same time. So that means that it is not a function. So basically, if your pencil or pointer hits more than one point at one time, then that means it's not a function. So I'm going to say no because there are more than 1 point on a vertical line. Or you could say the vertical line test. It hit in more than 1 point or something like that. So let's go ahead and look at this oddly shaped graph and see if it's a function or not. So we're going to take our pointer or our pencil and hold it vertically and run it through the graph and stop whenever you hit more than 1 point. So I'm going across and none of those points repeated themselves. So none of them were on top of each other. So we're going to say yes, this is a function because no more than 1 point on a vertical line. Alright, so if you have any more questions, go ahead and please watch the video one more time. You could also look in your textbook. They have some examples that have already been done for you. But basically all we're doing is checking to see if our x values repeat or if we hit more than 1 point using the vertical line test. And that can tell you whether it's a function or not. Alright, so let's go ahead and do some on your own questions.
Alright, you have 3 examples to do for me. Numbers 1 and 2, check your domains to check to see if it's a function or not. And number 3, go ahead and look at the graph and use the vertical line test. Alright, good luck. We'll see what you get tomorrow.